This is a Healthier Michigan podcast, episode 35. Coming up, we discuss fitness for a busy schedule. Welcome to a Healthier Michigan podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to navigating how we can all improve our health and well-being through small, healthy habits we can start implementing right now. Even if you're on a busy schedule, we've got tips for you. I'm your host, Chuck Gatica. Every other week, we sit down with a certified health expert from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, others who help us along the way with a deep dive into topics like fitness, nutrition, and a whole lot more. On this episode, we're talking about how to balance fitness with a busy schedule. With me today, empowerment coach and NASM personal trainer, we've got with us Angela Moore. Angela the resume is just incredible. I mean, you do all kinds of stuff, and I have to be nice because it looks like you can take me. I mean, it's just, you got all this training. Also, you're a counselor.
Yes, I am.
So on top of all this physical fitness and corrective exercise specialist, you've been a fitness presenter for the Detroit Health Empowerment Project and the American Heart Association. So much experience, too, in radio and television. So we're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Because we're all so busy, right?
Yes,
and
we are.
Marissa Jarrett is a on-site well-being coordinator for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. She has more than 15 years experience in health and wellness. So good to have you with us.
Good to be here, Chuck.
And
Thank you.
It's so cool to read both of the bios for you about things you've done, things you're still doing. So Marissa is into group fitness and personal training and bodybuilding and CrossFit, but so many cool things. A 9-acre farm she lives on with her husband and her kids, where they raise and grow their own food. Their farm includes Tibetan yaks. They're the ones with the accent. Turkeys, chickens, ducks, sheep, honeybees. Come on. That's wild. Yeah.
We are busy.
You are busy. Yes, you are busy. I'm so busy, I've got a guy working out for me right now. I hired him.
I love it.
He's probably into push-ups right at this minute. Well, this is really something we're all facing today, right? Mm-hmm. It seems like many days in our life we're trying to pack 10 pounds of coffee into a 5-pound can. What is a good place to start for a lot of us? Because some of us just can't get going. If you don't begin something, you can't start it. Mm-hmm. Is that really one of the ways to think of this, that you just have to start anything when it comes to fitness?
One of the things that I often tell people, and clients specifically, is you have to find a reason why that you want to get healthy. And once you find that reason why, you're willing to commit to doing whatever you need to do to meet that goal.
And what would some of those reasons be?
It may be, you may have grandchildren and you may say, I want to be a good, healthy grandparent. It may just be being a good, healthy parent, to your children.
Sure.
Being a role model for the people that you love in your life. One of the things I said to my husband this morning is I said, thank you, honey, for taking such good care of yourself. I said, the greatest gift that you can give to me is to present your healthiest self.
Isn't that sweet? Mm-hmm. Did he kiss you?
He did.
I know it's personal, but I mean, that's really sweet. That's a great thing for a spouse to say. And when it comes to this idea, Marissa, of starting something, for me, it's always been, I try to find something interesting and fun, so I'm not going to fall off the wagon. Mm-hmm. Should we not pursue things that are not, maybe rigorous isn't the wrong word, because rigorous can be good, that we're interested in doing, or at least trying?
Definitely. I think you need to find something that you enjoy doing. You'll be better able to stick to it, because if you choose something that you're not comfortable with, you might not carry through and you might not be persistent. So if you start with something that you love, and then once it becomes a habit, then you can start getting into different things and trying different things that might be a little bit more challenging outside your comfort zone. And then eventually that'll become a habit. I
have to share with you this story. We have a daughter who's in themed cruise travel. So we've gone on a couple cruises. And even before that, we went on to Alaska with my parents and my wife's parents. Susan and I have figured out a way to be busy on a ship and still eat what we like and lose weight or maintain weight, which is we never take an elevator. We walk everywhere. We do 2 miles on the track in the morning, and sometimes we work out, but not crazy stuff. We literally are walking 15 to 18,000 steps a day. Mm-hmm. Now, if you would have told me before we tried this on ourselves that that would be enough for me to have a little piece of something after dinner, I would have thought, well, I don't know. It's true. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to be rocket science, I guess was my point. Mm-hmm. It was just a big discovery for us, Mm-hmm. So when you pack into a busy schedule, we try to find things that we're going to do, maybe with consistency, right? What does it mean to get creative when it comes to workouts? What would that mean?
Oh, well, one of the things that I will definitely say when you talk about being creative, I often encourage clients to think about things that outside of the box. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that I think is really important is you should really think about where you're going to be working out, where you're going to be training. And so, for instance, if you're going to be exercising in your office, think of creative ways that you can be active in your office. Maybe it's sitting down and getting up, sitting down, getting up out of your office chair. Maybe it's doing movements, calisthenics in the middle of your office with the door closed.
Yeah.
Also, if you are a person who maybe has like a hallway, okay, doing walking lunges down the hallway, going from point A to point B. And that's what I mean with being creative. Think of creative ways to integrate physical activity into your day.
Well, it's funny. You're into CrossFit, right? I don't know. Maybe you both
Yes.
are. So we had an interview a few episodes ago about taking the tire, you see, rolling it down the street. I mean, talk about creative. It's kind of nutty, but I know that's part of CrossFit is getting things that I guess you wouldn't even qualify that as a body weight exercise, or would you? It's just some peculiar thing you're lifting or doing.
I would probably say more functional
Okay.
because we're always picking things up and, lifting them or throwing them. So I would probably go more functional with that.
And you
rather
can't
than
do
body
that
weight.
anywhere at any time, but yet when it's appropriate, it is working on core and other things that you aren't
Absolutely.
working on if you're just sitting there and lifting 20-pound dumbbells, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's something out of the ordinary, so it can be fun.
And for you, what is creative then?
For me, partner workouts can be very creative.
Yeah.
So turn it into a family function, or with your spouse or best friend. Somebody could do a wall sit while the other person is doing tricep dips on their knees, or maybe the other person is on all fours and you're doing a push up. Combining movements like that, making it fun. If you're at work and you're taking the stairs, we talked about that. Rather than taking the stairs, take them 2 at a time. If you have the ability to bring a jump rope with you, you can use the landing if it's large enough and it doesn't get a lot of traffic, and jump rope on the landing. Doing calf raises or tibia raises on the edge of the stairs. So,
Tibia raise. Why is that new to me?
Do you want to strengthen the muscles on the front part of the leg?
Okay.
Especially if you're someone prone to shin splints. But you kind of always want to work the opposing muscle groups. So if you're going to work the calves, you may as well work the front part of the shins as well. There's all kinds, you take that stairway workout, make it a little bit more creative, doing push-ups. If you're worried about your hands getting dirty, bring some hand towels or surgical gloves to put on your hands, but you could do tricep dips on those stairs. So you can get creative that way.
So, I used to think peer pressure was just something we experienced when we were kids, but then I've seen the good side of it. So I downloaded an app, Lose It, and I'm tracking food. And for a while, my wife told me later, she said, I thought this was kind of goofy. You're tracking it. We're at a restaurant. You're inputting all your food. Do you know within about a month, she downloaded the app and she started. And my wife has no trouble. Like she could eat Cinnabons from Metro Airport with butter and then go, honey, I lost 2 pounds. I mean, it drives me nuts. So she has no trouble. But for her, this was a good way of having someone, like you're saying, when it comes to the workout, maybe when it comes to what you're ingesting, which is a huge part of whatever we're going to call a workout, right? That we're being, we're looking to somebody to give us some guidance in our life. And in this case, an app does that by itself, right?
Yeah.
Do you have an app? Do professionals worry about that, or you just intuitively know what's going on?
I'm an avid workout fanatic.
So you don't worry about
yes,
it.
I really don't. Don't. But I often tell clients, whatever you need to do that's going to keep you motivated and keep you consistent. So if it's an app that you have to download on your phone, if it's journaling and writing down your activities of the day, your food consumption patterns, throughout the day, if whatever you need to do to keep yourself on track, do it and commit to doing it consistently.
Do we have to invest in a gym membership? Because I hear so much. I see a lot of videos on body weight exercises, and I think we know what some of those are that we've grown up seeing. Could you do an entire workout and never touch a weight?
Absolutely.
Isn't that something we could think about? Because I don't need to carry, or I can't carry 20-pound dumbbells everywhere I go.
Right. Yeah, no, you can use your own body weight. Obviously, we've discussed that.
Sure.
You can carry light resistance bands and jump ropes. We talked about
Right,
that. They're
right.
easy to pack. They're portable. But take a look around your environment and what do you have? Maybe when you're going to the grocery store, if you have 4 bags, instead of pushing them to your car in your cart, carry them. If
Yeah.
you're like for me on a farm, I'm constantly filling up 5-gallon water buckets and carrying them to the pasture to feed the animals and water
Wow.
the animals. So that, in a sense, is something that I never have to go to a gym for after I've worked in the yard for an hour.
So wait, 5 gallons, you said?
5, yeah, they're
So that's
5-gallon
30,
buttons.
35 pounds,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Of
doing a nice
liquid.
little farmer's carry.
Wow.
Yeah, so you do that for half an hour, or if you like to garden and you have compost, you're shoveling it. Usually, we'll go pick compost up down from the farm down the way, and we're shoveling it out of the back of the truck into the wheelbarrow, carrying it over to the garden. Or if you have a gardening project and you're having mulch delivered or sand or gravel, have them deliver it at the edge of your driveway so that you're shoveling it in your wheelbarrow and you got a longer distance.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of things that you can do without having to go to a gym.
Well, if you are going to schedule a workout for yourself, whether it's with a trainer or otherwise, is there a specific amount of time for a busy person that would be the minimum amount of time you would want to allot? Can you really get by with just a few 10-minute workouts a week? Can it be 15? Is there a good time, or is it just so different for each person?
I would say whatever you can do consistently.
Okay.
And I think if you have a day where your schedule's very busy, do a 10-minute workout, do a 15-minute workout. If you have a day where you have the opportunity to schedule in a longer workout appointment, and I do encourage you to schedule in your workouts just like you would do any appointment, then take the longer time and do the longer workout, enjoy the longer workout,
Yeah.
don't rush through it. There's definitely benefits to HIIT training, high intensity interval training, Tabata training, where you're doing 20 to 10 intervals, for 4 minutes.
Sure.
There's been numerous articles that have supported the numerous benefits during the exercise and actually following the activity. So whatever you can do it consistently and
as
commit to it.
We're seeing the aging of America, which I know is important. We're all aging somehow. I'm seeing more and more, maybe it's just me, I'm perceptually thinking, I'm seeing more articles about weight training, that there's never a bad age to start weight training. It's good for your bones. It's good for your overall health. Do you both agree with that we really should be including some kind of body weight or otherwise weight training exercise?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What other benefits am I missing? Because it's anaerobic, right?
Right. And you need that for our bone density, especially for women. As we get older, we start to lose our bone density. So you need to be able to lift something heavy enough that's going to put stress on those on the bones.
And then muscle mass itself, doesn't that burn calories?
It does,
Yes.
yes. Lean
So
muscle
that's not
mass is
untrue
much
then.
more active than fat mass. And as a woman, actually, as you age, you lose lean muscle mass and you gain fat muscle mass. So you definitely want to incorporate strength training, resistance training into your workout to counteract that, something that naturally happens.
So let's picture somebody, I'm going to work and I'm in an office, and now many of the newer buildings have that cafeteria-style long counter, and there's the Keurig, and there's this, and it's all cool. But that also means there may be the bowl of M&Ms and the this thing and the the free pop in the cooler. You can do so many of these great things, but if what you're putting in your mouth doesn't match this new drive, right, for physical fitness, it may all be self-defeating.
Yes. And self-sabotaging behaviors is something that I constantly combat.
Do you really?
When I deal with clients, yes. Because a lot of people will tell themselves, well, I did the workout, so it makes it okay to eat the bag of M&Ms. And so one of the things I encourage my clients to do is think about the foods that you should consume, not the foods that you should avoid. So if you're eating 7 to 9 fruits and vegetables, you're getting in lean protein, you're getting in healthy fats. And if you want to schedule in, and I say schedule in your splurge, it's okay. But let's focus on getting those healthy, nutrient-dense foods in first. And then if you want to, after you've consumed the nutrient-dense food, if you want a snack after that, then it's okay.
Have you met a lot of people that are self-sabotaging as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I worked out, but I need to eat a half a side of cow to get more protein. I mean, and we all do that to some extent in our own context.
We do. Yeah, we do.
How do you counsel them? I mean, how do you teach as trainers, how do you teach others, and how do you even instruct us listening to the podcast today to gain your sensibilities. That's the hardest thing to teach somebody is how to be sensible about what they're doing.
Well, like Angela said in the beginning, we try to counsel them to find their why, and once they have that, then we sit down with them and I will have them go over their nutrition. So they'll keep a diary of everything they eat throughout the week. And, if their why supports what they're doing, they're not going to have all of those self-sabotaging things in their meal plan. However, if, we're seeing that they're going out to the bar and they've got some drinks or they've got some desserts, then we might have to sit down and rediscuss their why and their priorities and, just let them know that in moderation, those things are fine, but reach your goal first, and then you can kind of add those back in small quantities.
So I know that we live in the northern climes, so it's sometimes tough in the winter to consider you're going to ride your bike to work. Although a lot of people still, the fat tire thing, I'm still amazed when I see these guys go by. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just amazing. They're doing this in the middle of January. But for us, even in Detroit, where bike riding is now a big thing, when you think of commuting, there are ways to make even your commute healthier. Right? You could just walk to work if you're close enough. Yeah.
Well, something that I used to do at the counseling center, because it's very different when I'm training clients, I'm moving, I'm demonstrating exercise, and so I get a lot more steps than I would when I'm as opposed to when I'm at the counseling center. So I would strategically make a plan to walk the long way for my next client. So one of the things that I encounter at the counseling center, so there's an entryway and then there's an exit way. And now you can easily leave your office and go to the door and just get your client. I would go the long way around to get my client. So it would take me, by the time I was done, I would easily get my 10,000 steps.
Wow. Very cool.
Yes.
We've got a person that we know who's a manager at one of the local Costco's, and they added on to the Costco. He said exactly the same thing. He said, from one corner to the other corner, it's like a mile. He said, so I make it a point to not walk to exactly what I want. I go the long way, and that's a big store to get lost in. And, of course, it's his job, but he's figured out a way in his busy life while he's on the clock to get exercise.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Any other tricks you can suggest about this idea of what we can do to incorporate it into our business life? You talked a little bit about, closing the blinds, but you're going to do push-ups against the wall if you don't want to do them on the floor. And maybe not. Maybe you want to influence your staff, or you'll be an influencer to other members of the staff. What else can we think about when it comes to the workplace? What could we do?
Instead of emailing your coworker, walk over to their desk. With instant messaging, find a group of people and send them an instant message. Say, hey, it's been 30 minutes. Let's do some squats. And then you kind of help one another stay accountable. Keep dumbbells, resistance bands in your desk. If you can, get a stand-up desk or swap your chair out for a stability ball.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's not a bunch of baloney, those balls.
No. And if you have to, if you're have an online meeting or something, they can't see you most likely. You can sit there and you can do your sit-ups, you can pick your ball up, do your squats. You've got a little exercise going on while you're watching a webinar or, having an online meeting with somebody.
Yeah.
One of the things I would love to add, because I love when you think about meetings, and you mentioned instead of sending an email, working meetings. So instead of sitting with a client or a coworker at the desk, walk during the whole time you're having that meeting.
So personally, I am notorious for going out, letting my dogs take me for a walk, and returning calls or making calls. And then sometimes if someone wanted to come over to meet, I would say, would you mind going for a walk? I want to let the dog, and I would always couch it that way because it's a little funnier. I'm going to let the dog take me for a walk. Oh, sure. So I'd have to apologize a bit on the phone because of the barking. But outside of that, it was such a fantastic way for me to get in a 30-minute walk and go around my path a few times. I'm in touch with nature. I'm breathing. I'm calming down. I'm actually at times being productive. And the dog's getting a benefit, and the dog was taking me for a walk. It was just the best. It still is.
And you probably were more productive when you got back after that.
I'm going to tell my wife that. I bet I was.
It was much more productive.
I was. All right, so when you talked about working out in pairs. That doesn't always work for spouses because my thing maybe I want to pick things up and put them down, and maybe Susan wants to be more into aerobics. But you can still find somebody Maybe it's a brand new friend at the club that you
Right.
met who's doing something you like, right? Can't we find someone to be a buddy?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're out there.
They're out there, yeah.
Mhm.
And when you make a commitment to be active and you go to a club, if you go consistently, you're going to eventually meet
Yes.
other like-minded
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt to maybe put up send out an email and inquire about maybe coworkers that are interested in starting a workout program,
Mhm.
just like you, and saying, okay, how many of you would love to, meet with me
Sure.
at 12:15 at Lobby A, and let's do a workout together. And I love the fact that Marissa mentioned the tubes and bands. You can actually form a workout group at the office, remind everybody to bring their tubes and bands, and you all do a group workout together. How awesome is that?
Well, and you know what's nice about those too is those pack up. So if you're the kind of person that's job requiring, some flying, you can take those. You could
Yes.
also use a 2-liter bottle of water or something, So there are these ways you can do that. But we do have bands, and we'll take them on vacation. So at least it gives us that, which is nice to have.
And you can work every muscle of the body with a band or a tube very effectively.
Is that right?
You totally can. Yeah. And one of the things I love to do with clients is I like to do a push-pull workout. So I have them do a chest exercise, a back exercise, and a shoulder, then a bicep and a tricep, and an exercise for their quads and their hamstrings. And because you're working, there's something called reciprocal inhibition, the contraction of one side forces the relaxation of the opposite opposing muscle. What that basically means is that when I am working, say, the chest, the back has to relax. So when the chest is contracting, the
Wow.
back is in a relaxed position. So you are positioning the body in the body's positioned perfectly to do chest, back, bis, tris, quads, hamstrings
Yeah.
without rest. And so you can very easily and very effectively do a 15, 20-minute workout in no time.
I should have had bands here connected to the
That's right.
table. I could have been talking to you, and I could have been doing stuff, right?
That's right.
All right, so if we're going to look for friends, there is the notion of having somebody to be accountable to. That's what I was trying to say. I was reaching for that before with my app. But there also is in all of us, to some extent, a little bit of competition. That's not a bad thing either, is it?
No.
Yeah.
No. I think it fuels us, to be able to do a workout today and do it better next week.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a little bit longer or we increase the intensity or we were able to sustain it for a longer period
Right,
of time.
right.
There's all different ways that you can look at it. You can try and get through a workout quicker by increasing the intensity, or you can try and be able to increase that duration.
And the stories are always amazing. And I know Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan has been involved in various ways. But when you see an entire staff or a group lose an immense amount of weight because of this little bit of competition, or maybe it is peer pressure, we're all going to get on this bandwagon. And from January 1 to March 1, we're all going to do the best we can. There is something to be said for forward momentum, just leaning in with people around you who are leaning in as well, even when you don't know what you're doing, which is most of the time for me.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I want to highlight something that Marissa said that I think is so important. I love when you talked about competition, Marissa, that you talked more about self-competition, competing with yourself. One of the discussions that Marissa and I had prior to the segment today is we were talking about how we are in a society right now where we unfortunately compare ourselves to unrealistic images that are on social media. And I think the greatest thing that you can do to yourself is be your own competitor, but also your biggest cheerleader. And so compete against yourself. And I think that's so important, because I think that when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, sometime early in the morning or late at night, you're only with yourself, and you have to motivate and empower yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know who said this, somebody important and famous probably said, if you do anything for a month, you'll probably see results. And I know that anecdotally in my life, maybe in yours too, whether it's changing your lifestyle, some would call it a diet, when you start a new program with bands or something, if you could just stay with something and find your way through it, give it whatever that period is for you, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, if you can do that for a month, for most of us, that can become habitual. So don't give up in 2 days. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And that's a bit of self-competition, driving yourself to that next level, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what about now, let's talk about, we're going to the grocery store. We're going to buy some bags of groceries. I'm going to carry them the long way. But back to this notion of food, we still may want to make sure we're picking out the right things. We've done segments and episodes on that before, but is there a way that we should be balancing any of this? Is there anything that's special that we need to think about, or is it really just start a program that gets you active?
I would say whatever you do, make sure that you're setting realistic expectations and make your changes slowly over time. So when you go to the grocery store, try to get the most nutrient-dense foods that you can, but don't completely eliminate some of those other foods that you that are your favorite foods. Because I think one of the things that happens is we set this goal and we set the expectations way too high, and we kind of set ourselves up for failure. But I think if you can go with the mindset, understanding that I'm going to start an activity, I'm not going to be an Olympic athlete when I first start, and then also understanding that when I go into the store, there's a lot of education that I'm going to have to educate myself and understand what food choices I need to make, and also understand how to integrate those healthier food choices into my lifestyle. It's going to take some time. Yeah, I feel like when we think about eating healthier, we try to do too much all at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And you mentioned nutrient dense, and there's a mutual friend we have, Dr. Tom Rafai.
Yes.
And he was the one. I want to paint this visual picture for people because this is something that has stuck with me since the day I got to know him, and I think it works for a lot of people. When he talked about the density of food, would you rather have this couple and pick the kind of cookie? An Oreo cookie, a Girl Scout cookie, doesn't matter. You want to have two of those, or how about this medium to large size apple? They both may show up at about 90 calories, but do you know how much you're getting in that apple? So the density of that food, it fills you up, it's giving you fiber, it's giving you water. That visualization, whenever I shop now, whenever I talk to somebody, whenever I reach to eat something, I'm thinking about how much that food is going to fill me up because I already know. If I go for 2 cookies, there's just no way.
Right.
It's going to be the whole sleeve of Thin Mints and a 2% milk because they do kind of balance each other out, right? But this density of that food has been a visual picture that I now look at with so many different things that I do. And I think it's those little tricks that can help us along the way. It's fast, and even though I'm busy, I know how to shop.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So let me come back to this idea of success. We're going to try to find it. Success is one of those words that can always be a moving target for a lot of us. When you have worked out with people, is it purely setting goals? Do you see happiness come into their lives? What other benefits are you seeing to creating a plan like we've discussed today for a busy schedule?
I think that there's a lot of fun that can be had.
Sure.
And that makes anything easier, when you're having fun and when you're doing something that you enjoy.
You're getting fit.
Yeah, you're getting
Maybe you're
fit.
changing habits.
You're getting more active. You're going to feel better.
Yeah.
You'll think clearly.
Yeah. And maybe be more relaxed. Maybe if I'm working out the chest and my back muscles feel like I just got a massage.
Right. You'll relieve a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other things. You might have a reason why you're working out, but there's a lot of other side effects that are better for you, that you're going to experience. Losing weight really should be a side effect. That shouldn't be your goal. That should be a side effect.
Yeah.
Increasing muscle mass, things like that. That all comes from working out. I think we should just do it more from like a longevity perspective,
Sure.
and wanting to be our healthiest self.
So my smartphone is one of my best friends. I hate to admit it, but I do put my calendar there, and I share it, with Susan. So if you're a busy person and you're into calendars, is it good that you schedule your workout, or should you let it holistically just happen?
I think it's essential, actually.
It is essential. Okay.
I really do. I really believe that because that's one of the things that I find that people eliminate first when they get really busy. But you would not cancel an appointment that you would have your doctor or a loved one if you have dinner plans.
Yeah.
And I believe that once you schedule it in, what will happen is your schedule will work around that, as opposed to you trying to squeeze it in. But also, I will say that's something that's really important. If you don't get your workout in like you plan, don't let that be your reason for eating badly and say, well, I didn't work out, so I might as well just
I'm going to blow the whole day.
blow the whole day.
Yeah.
And anything, even at the end of the day, say you had planned to work out early in the morning, but say if you're a mom or a husband that end up getting a phone call and you had to go to the office a little earlier, you plan to work out, do the workout when you get home, but shorten it a little bit, make it a little less intense. Do it at the end of the day. Do a HIIT interval workout right before you go to bed if you need to. Take a walk around the neighborhood for 15, 20 minutes. So don't let that be the excuse to not do it.
And I know, Marissa, you raised this idea about combining exercise with things you do. And when I was reading some of the background about what our topic was today for this episode, that movie, the great movie where Robin Williams is playing Mrs. Doubtfire. Remember when he's dancing with the vacuum?
Yes.
I mean, it's a classic scene, right?
Yes.
And I'm just thinking, if I walked in and it's either Susan saw me vacuuming or I saw her and I was combining my workout with vacuuming, she would think, well, the day has come. This is it, kids. But, it is, as funny as it is, there is something to be said for the fun factor.
Yes.
It's a bit wacky, so that alone kind of makes it fun.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
I know there was one morning I was driving down Big Beaver and I was stopped at a light and I just happened to look over and there was a building there that had glass windows and there was a guy in his office dancing in the window.
I love it. I love it.
It made my day. I don't know what he was dancing, if it was working out or if he made a great sale or what, but
Yeah.
whatever he was doing, he was having fun.
Go ahead.
I was going to say something that's really interesting that I recall. I remember when I was working on my master's. Sometimes it was hard because I was doing an internship, running the business, and plus trying to, all at the same time. So one of the things that I would do is I would walk up and down the stairs while I was studying. And it's very, very,
You
very
mean you were
simple
reading
thing.
out of a book?
Yes, and I would walk up and down the stairs safely.
Yeah, right.
But the whole time I'm studying, that's what I would do. I go up and down the stairs, and I would do that for 30, 45 minutes. Workout's done.
Back in the old days, I used to have a Schwinn Airdyne.
Yeah.
So I still,
Yes,
I still
remember
have.
those.
I've gone back out and I've gotten a bike that's similar, but it's not the same. And I had the old magazine rack. And I'll tell you what, it didn't vibrate too much. I could read a magazine and some books, depending on how thick they were. It was the best, most highly productive 30 to 40 minutes I could get. And it was just my thing. Not everybody wants to read while they're running on it. I didn't want to do a treadmill. But you've got to find that thing. And when you find it, I know I put thousands of miles on that bike. I know I did. And it was good for me. And I forget exactly all I read, but I know I went through a few Motor Trend. So it was, it was really good to me. So if we wrap this all up, we've got to be realistic in setting our goals, right? And probably we just need to start. I mean, let's just find something to start with, right? Just be motivated to begin. And if I need your help, can I call you? Will you coach me? I mean, you're both coaches. I mean, you help me
Absolutely.
get going in
yes.
something new? Because
Absolutely.
I'm not that gym guy who wants to hear all the guys grunting. It's a bit intimidating to me. So I understand why some of these newer gyms have cropped up where you can be the average person and not be intimidated, because there is that factor too. But I just encourage everybody to really think that it's time that we just do something about it, because sometimes that person we're waiting for to get started is us.
Yes.
So maybe it's time to go. Well, it's been such a great pleasure having you here.
Great. Thank you, Chuck. It was a pleasure to be here with you,
Yeah,
Angela.
Oh my
yes,
gosh,
very pleasure.
Angela
Great
and Marissa.
pleasure. Thank
and
you
every
so
time
much
I've
for
got
the
someone
opportunity.
here, I go out and I get these takeaways. Trust me, I'm going to go out and do something different today. Last time, Vince McKinnon, who was here, one of your colleagues, he said, go get a weighted vest. And when you go for walks with your dog, use the weighted vest or make sure you use Hills. I looked a little strange in the winter, but I got one.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it, and it changes the workout just a little
It
bit.
completely changes the
does.
workout. And something I want to mention that I'm so glad that you mentioned the weighted vest.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, something that I routinely see people do is they will walk with hand weights, and that is not that's not
Not
benefit,
good?
not good. It increases blood pressure, and it's not an effective way to build resistance and strength in your
Yeah.
muscles.
Oh,
you're
that's
not
a good tip.
You're not going to build lean muscle mass doing that.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, I'm going to cut back on those now. Thanks so much, ladies. Thanks for being here with us today.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
And thank you for listening. This has been a Healthier Michigan podcast. It's brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. If you like our show, you want to know more, you can check out all the episodes, previous episodes, and of course, we've got more coming your way. It's at ahealthiermichigan.org/podcast. You can leave us reviews or ratings on iTunes or Stitcher. You can also get new episodes on your smartphone or tablet so you can be productive. You get out your earbuds and you can go for your power walk with your dogs and you can listen to one of our shows. Be sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. I'm Chuck Gatica. Have a great day.